Hi, everybody. How's everybody feeling? Good. Okay, well, let's have some fun. Cicis Pizza, our goal is to really, we think life should be a buffet of endless fun. So we're going to have some time here to talk about Cicis. So if you're not familiar with Cicis, we're a Texas company and still based in Coppell, Texas. We're the original all-you-can-eat pizza, pasta, soup, salad, and dessert for a very low price. Back in the 80s, it was $2.99. And now it is somewhere on average with the system, $7.99 to $8.49. So still offering really an amazing value in this time where it's so important. But I'm here to tell you a story. And the good news is I'm up here, so spoiler alert, there's a happy ending. It all ends good, so relax.
That's because I'm still up here.
It's because she's still up here. They were the saving grace, but we'll get to that. We're going to go back to where Cicis was 2 years ago, literally in March of 21. And as bad as this picture looks, it gets worse. We were in bankruptcy. We were not relevant. We were not executing. The food quality wasn't good. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? There's just nothing here that was for us. But Jeff Hetzel, our current president, had been with the company for over 30 years, and he had a vision. So he bought it out of bankruptcy. And it was a game changer. So the first year, he really spent the time getting the culture back, getting the quality of the food back, and getting operations. That's year one. So let's fast forward to a year ago. I was brought on as the new CMO. The stores were ready to invite guests in to the restaurants. But we needed to do that in a dramatic way, in a way the brand had never done. So we needed to do something very different. I came on board, and there were a few things that we needed to address. It was a fun month. First, we had run away from the fact that we were a buffet. Talking about dirty little secrets, the fact that we were a buffet was a dirty little secret we weren't talking. And marketing leadership ran away from it, leadership ran away from it, and that was part of the reason we went bankrupt. The buffet is the heart of our business. It's why we exist. It's why we were created. That was number one. Number two, brand new on board, let's meet with the media agency. This audience will appreciate this. Hi. Okay, so who are we targeting? Adults, 18 plus, who like pizza. No, that's it. That was it. It's like, oh my God, okay. Well, how are we measuring success? Metrics? Oh, metrics are for sissies. They're overrated. So we didn't have metrics, we weren't targeting. And then we had creative that was all about discounting. It wasn't telling a story. It was a hot mess, to be perfectly honest. But when you have a hot mess, you just figure it out. And so, first thing you do, the nice way of saying this is you clean house. We cleaned house. We brought on KSM, our current media agency. We brought on Three-Headed Monster, our new creative agency. And we developed a plan. And it was really 4 pillars. First and foremost, get the creative right. Let's go bold with our identity, embrace our roots, embrace who we are in a fun and engaging way. Second, segment the best, forget the rest. No more targeting the entire US population, we're over, but really finding those people that love Cicis, how they use them so that we could really talk to them that leads to create media moments that matter. Talk to them in the channel they want to see in a creative way that they can digest and take action. And then finally, always on test and learning, agility, fail fast, learn fast. Always look at ways to improve and optimize, and that's just the way we did it. Some of the fun stuff. Cici Pizzini, the creative mastermind behind Cicis Pizza. It was the first time in the history of the company we had a mascot. We needed an ownable character, and we had to have a vehicle that would allow us to explain, because Cicis is very complex. We have buffet, we have to-go, we have gaming. We have all sorts of things we offer different audiences. How do we communicate that? It was really a challenge, but we also wanted it to be creative and fun. So Sean Rathburn, He's the creative director, founder of Three-Headed Monsters. These are his sketches. This is the birth of Cicis. Basically, P.T. Barnum meets Willy Wonka with a dash of steampunk. All fun. Second, how does he get around? Aha, a flying machine. So he modeled out a flying machine that would enable him to swoop around to show all that goes on at a Cicis. And then in reality, when you have to produce a spot, you have the actor on the green screen. For 7 hours, he pedaled. He did not know it was a spin class he was signing up for. There were some choice words at certain times. Certain accidents happened, but we got through it. And then we also filmed in store. Now, the interesting thing is this guy, 6 feet tall, was shrunk down to 4 inches. So, and again, this is going to be blasphemy in this audience, so I'm going to hide behind Kay. No creative testing, none, zip. We didn't have the budget and we didn't have time. So you have this little dude flying around the restaurant right by the buffet, could have looked like a fly. It was a true discussion. Could creep out the kids, could scare the little guys. We had no idea, but we didn't have the time, so we trusted our gut and we went with it. So I tell you what, why don't we see what happened?
Welcome to Cicis. Step right this way to an incredible all-you-can-gobble buffet. A wondrous world of extraordinary creations like mac and cheese pizza and a cinnamon roll station. Oh, pasta and salad dessert. Oh my lord, it's games to the girls and dudes in their 40s. There's plenty to go around. No need for sharing. Everyone's happy, even this Karen. What will we do next? You can bet it's stupendous. Bring your scratchy pants to Cicis, where the Pizzabilities are endless.
It was very fun. And he's now the fun little guy on the flying machine several months later, so it's all good. Got a lot of calls from some Karens. They fell true to their reputation, but in the end, it all worked out really well. But we'll get to more of the meat of the segmenting, the targeting, and the media tactics, so I'm going to hand it off to Miss Kay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, now I'm going to make sure I got this
We'll
right.
switch.
We'll switch.
We'll switch.
Okay, so I am going to go through the inputs that we put together for the media plan. All inputs that everyone is going to be very familiar with. How we put the target together, how that led to a role sort and channel mix, how we made magic out of magical creative to make sure that it worked with each platform that we were on, and then how we thought about markets, because actually our market strategy was a big part of the entire strategy, and then the results, which you already sort of talked about, are pretty fantastic. So 18 plus was not going to work for us from a targeting standpoint. And when we first started working with stuff in Cicis, our initial reaction was, hey, let's get your POS data. Let's look at some amazing segmentation. And staff let us know pretty quickly.
We have 5 POS systems, no data. Good luck.
So that was not an option. So we had to build that target from the ground up, looking at data enrichment, making sure that we were looking at a target audience that would resonate with the brand's reasons to believe, that resonated with the brand positioning, and we ultimately landed on a multitasking mom. And I think everyone, when you say multitasking mom, you have a vision that comes into your head. We validated that against the data that we did have access to. And what we ultimately found was that, yes, we believe this is our target audience, but less than 10% of the current customers at Cicis were actually part of this target audience. In addition to that, we looked at qualities that other target audiences had that were similar to this mom, and we came up with secondary audiences. So that's where you see our dinner duty dads, our shift workers, and our college students. So great, we had a core target audience, we had secondary audiences, and now we had to think about, okay, so where are we going to reach these individuals? So let me tell you a little bit about mom. Mom's real busy. That's her name, multi-handling things, multitasking. And the problem was she was everywhere and nowhere. So from a media habit standpoint, we saw her across linear, we saw her appointment viewing, we saw her doing OTT, CTV, we saw her on social, nothing completely over-indexed, nothing under. She was a very passive consumer of media. So how do we reach somebody like that? And not only that, we knew we had to reach her quite a few times. We had to get her to trial, we had to increase frequency to do that. So we had to be in all places in a compelling way. So that took us to a mix that had linear, OTT, CTV, and then other frequency drivers. And she was our core. our media, even though we had secondary targets, we zoned in on her and we said, if we are going to win, it is going to be with this target audience. Linear video was targeted to women 25 to 54, against programming that resonated with her. OTT and CTV is where we did a lot of that test and learn that Steph was talking about, honing in on different contextual environments, different segmentation and data parameters that we wanted to prove out could win for us. We used radio to actually increase that frequency that we needed at a very efficient rate. YouTube was very similar. If you're running on YouTube, there's a variety of different tactics across awareness and conversion that we were able to leverage. And then there was this low hum of paid social display and paid search that sort of gave us that support that we needed. The secondary audiences, we did not forget about them. Steph said one of the 4 was testing and learning, and we needed to make sure we understood those audiences. So we did develop with Three-Headed Monster specific creative that spoke to the nuances of those audiences, but we ran it in social and display only. Ooh. The critical part of this is that we had amazing creative to work with. But that creative had to be unique and work with each of the different platforms that we were on. So we worked very closely with Three-Headed Monster to make sure that the creative worked for each platform. And this, ooh, it should actually play, but I don't think it's going to for us. Okay.
It's really good.
It's really great. You guys are missing some really great creative here. Ultimately, from a linear and CT and OTT standpoint, we ended up featuring the 30-second spot. But then from a social and YouTube area, we got a little creative. We had shorter form content. We actually had created UGC style content to resonate in those areas. And that's where we started driving home our LTO or limited time offers in those environments. Yeah, that would be great. Oh, are they each individual? Oh, don't worry about it. That's totally fine. We can go through that. So we had our target, we had our channel mix. We made sure that we had creative that worked with that channel mix and evolved with that mix. And then we had to think about markets. So with all of the channels that we were in, the goals that we wanted to accomplish, we could not be in every single market with everything. So we took a look at a bunch of different factors: sales contribution, actual social ratings of stores across different markets, their store rankings, media costs, density of stores in different markets, and came up with 4 tiers of markets that once you look at them like that, they don't look very sophisticated, but the type of analysis that we had to do to get to this point was pretty exciting. And then our primary or P1 markets were the stores that we knew if we could win P1, we could hit our objectives. So P1 got all the things. They got the linear, they got the CTV, the OTT, and all of the supporting media. P4, let's look at the other end, was search only. So that's where we got our hand raisers. And then in the middle for P2 and P3, you either got linear or you got CTV or OTT. And that was based on what made sense from a market standpoint, whether it be media cost, density of stores, and how that worked through. So what did that get us? What Steph failed to mention when she started all of this was that we had 5.5 weeks from the time we were rewarded the business to launch this.
Oh yeah, that long time frame.
Yeah.
Oops.
Super long time frame to create a new target audience, to put together the channel mix. And I say that because we've been talking a little bit about measurement, right? And there's no perfect measurement solution. For everyone has implemented a robust measurement solution, you need more than 5.5 weeks to get that done. So I think the measurement framework is important because we had to be thinking about this sort of from like a KPI standpoint. What can we put in place in 5.5 weeks to have enough indicators to measure what's working and what's not working? And it was a little bit Frankenstein, right? We've all been there where you're looking at each channel a little bit differently. So we did put some store visitation studies in place with programmatic and with YouTube. We were looking at indicators that I heard the panel talking about, store location indicators on, Meta and TikTok. And yes, those were great indicators for us to understand what was working, what's not working. And I think this is important because when I go into the next slide that talks about what we learned and performance looked a little bit different for every channel, and we were okay with that. We knew going into this that if we could learn something about the target, about performance, then we were in great shape moving into 2023. So what did we learn? This is top 5 findings, but we had like 30 different findings. And I say that because it's like the little things that you learn, right? The little nuances about a target audience, the little bit that you learn about a data segment that's working better than another data segment that is actually really important as you start thinking about future plan iterations. What we loved about OTT and CTV is it taught us about our target audiences. Small example, we actually in our linear buy did a lot of live programming, right? We were like, that's where we need to be, live programming. We found for mom, when we had that similarly mirrored in OTT and CTV, it didn't perform. She wasn't into it. So here we were with an investment in linear that wasn't exactly where we wanted to be. We were okay with it because we knew that that was haloing and doing well against our secondary audiences, but that is something that, look forward in 2023, we're looking differently about. We had so many little nuances like that we were learning. Some of them were doing great, and other ones were like, it was a little bit of a miss. Promotional messaging was a star. Anytime we dropped an LTO, we saw an increase in store visitation, which is great. That's what LTO should do. However, we expected that window for it to work to be much longer than it ended up being. It burned out pretty quickly. So we ended up condensing our flighting, putting more investment of dollars into that small flight, and something that we're even thinking about differently now in 2023. The social platforms were so much fun because we had so much different creative content to run against them. And if you think about a multitasking mom, you have the younger age of that, you have the older age of that, and I say younger and older, they're all young. And it's as like a mom, and when people are like, how old are you? It's like, oof. So anyways, 25 to about 54, let's just say. But what we saw in the social platforms was interesting, that UGC content versus like the 30-second spot with the same type of targeting, the only difference being the age segment that we were going after resonated significantly different. That younger age wanted the UGC content. When we had the UGC content against the 30-second with a little bit older of that multitasking mom, she gravitated towards that 30-second spot. It also made differences in how we looked at future iterations, how we dropped LTOs, like small nuances like that, we were really able to see in the social platforms. Even from a TikTok perspective, I think we assumed that TikTok was going to do much better against our younger audience, and quite honestly, it did fantastic across the entire range if we got the creative right. YouTube was a shining star for the plan. It was cost effective. It did great of all of the different tactics we ran across it, the studies that it put in place, the traffic that it drove. In general, we increased that investment going into 2023 because of how well it performed. And I would say the biggest thing that we learned was there was a little hesitation when we went into it. Are we doing too much? Is it right to be in linear? We have a limited budget. Should it be OTT and CTV only? And what we found is that, yeah, it was right. We needed to be in all of those video channels. We needed that opportunity to learn about the target. And quite honestly, when we looked at the results and the business impact, it ultimately did pay off. I mean, the media metrics, yes, they're interesting, right? The number of video views that we got, the number of website visits, the store visits that we were able to track. But quite honestly, if it wasn't for what Steph is going to talk about right now, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, my president really doesn't care about impressions, website visits, or trackable media at all.
I think Steph's the only one that looks at our dashboard.
Pretty much. He cares about sales, he cares about traffic. And the week that the campaign hit, we were up 17%. And that went on for the rest of the year, double-digit growth. So as high as 25%, we were up 33% for the year last year, year over year. And so far this year, we're up 18.5% year to date. So it's working, especially a buffet concept at this point. It's a hard working out there if you're in the restaurant space, any space for that matter. But it's sustainable and it's working. So we're just going to keep on looking at different tactics, different creative. And, we're talking about what will we think of next.
Yeah.
It's LTOs. We're going to lean into LTOs a little more and look at different creative and media support for that. So if you're near a Cicis in a couple weeks, we're going to have a Mike's Hot Honey Pepperoni Pizza. It's delicious. And then later this summer, Stormy near you is a Pizzilla pizza. It is a 28-inch, 4 pounds of dough, 2 pounds of cheese, 250 pepperonis, and the pizza box is this big, stem to stern. So we're doing a lot of fun things. So Cici Pizzini is our inspiration. He's our muse, and what will he think of next? I have no idea, but it's going to be fun, that I can tell you.
And for all the brands in the room, I just want to say we were so lucky to work with staff in Cicis who gave us the opportunity to truly like test, learn, fail, be honest with what was working, what wasn't working. So I think a lot of the success too was just like the transparency and great relationship we have. And I mean, like
the relationship is
the
bar
world
none.
of a difference. So
Like bro love here. No, it's true though, because we were onboarding 2 new agencies, a new creative agency, a new media agency, so it was really messy at times. It got heated at times, but we all had the goal of success for the team, not one partner, but the entire team. It was true collaboration at the highest level, and it continues to be so, and that really, I do think, speaks to the success we've had.
great.
That's awesome.
That's it.
Well, does anyone have any questions for these guys? Oh. I'll let you get it, Barbie.
I just had a question. You said
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Justin Poe. I'm
Hi.
EHY. You said that when you were looking at your what you learned, you said that CTV taught you what was working, what wasn't working. How did you measure? Like, how did you decide that it was working? Because you said there were different.
We were looking at store visits, so we were able to track through that store visitation. So that's primarily like when we said working or not working, an indicator that we leveraged for that. I mean, there was obviously like video completes, but let's be honest, like when are you seeing low video completes, right? You're always measuring against that, but store visitation was the primary.
And is that true of also your social stuff that you were comparing?
Social was more, in social we were looking at lookups for store locations. So that's what we were able to get to at that level.
Anyone else?
Door. Hey there, I'm Todd Benedict with A Key Technologies. Great presentation, super helpful. Do you, with the social, were you guys doing anything with influencers at all? Or was it all,
We were not doing anything with influencers. Not for 2022, no.
Okay. The Key's happy to help with that anytime
Okay,
you'd like.
great.
But no,
Good to know. Thank you.
It seems like it could be a really interesting way, especially getting them back on from where they were. I mean, that's incredible. So really nice job using the media that you did. It's incredible.
Yeah, I would say we looked at it. A lot of it too is the timing that we had, right? There, especially for CCs who hadn't done anything in a while, there's a lot of education that goes into that piece of it, and we had to be up and running in 5.5 weeks. So, yeah, there was a little bit of a piece of that. Yeah, I like to really drive that home.
Stuart, Remax, this is Stephanie. Question for you, because I've been on both sides, and it's when you have a great agency, does great media, great creative, but you know the client has issues in what they're delivering on the promise. It sounded like the product needed to be better. I was just curious, did you acknowledge that at all in your ads, or did you just hope that the media and creative would drive them in there and then they would realize that the pizza is now better, the experience is better?
We actually, the first year from 21 to 22 was all about operations. So Jeff Hetzel, and he is a inspiring leader, and he also owns 2 stores, so he's an operator. These stores were, not everyone, because it's a system, right? It's franchise, but predominantly, you were going to get a really good experience. All the food quality went back to the recipes from the 80s. He brought all that back, brought the proprietary items back. We have our own distribution company, JMC, so we could do that and create that product, so that had that momentum. So that at the time we were in August, overall, great ratings. Right now, Cicis is at 4.2 stars on average for our Google ratings and overall rep satisfaction. So we're delivering a good experience. So we really leaned into that before we brought people in.
Smart.
And no, we didn't acknowledge any of that. We just wanted to go straight for the heart and the fun.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hi, Jesse with Kizik. I'm curious what your internal team looks like, and do you guys use a media mix model of any kind?
We like your shoes, and I have a small team, so we take them. No, I have a very small team. It's really lean. So there's myself, there's a vice president of marketing, there's a media strategist, there's a brand manager, and a local store marketing person. And that's the team we have. Hence, I lean in heavily to my partners. And then I'll let Kay take the media model mix question because we're going to start. We didn't in the past.
We didn't in the past. We have something in place this year. We're getting the first read of results actually in April. So we're very excited to see what that looks like. But yes, that was always the plan to eventually roll that in. And we will have it moving forward.
We'll trade shoes for pizza.
Absolutely. We'll talk afterwards. And if I had more money in my marketing budget, I'd be hiring people. So that would be my answer.
Not you yet. Well, this is awesome. And actually, these guys, do we have a question?
I think there's another one.
Oh. This will be the last because then they're also heading up a round table. So,
Patrick McConaughey, when it came to, obviously the timeline to get the campaign running was very short, right? But when it came to all the different channels you were running on and in a lot of different formats, how did you sort of harmonize all of the performance data to something that was discernible to allow you to take action on it from an optimization standpoint? What was the cadence of that?
Yeah. In the beginning, we were looking at it, but I would say it took about like 4 to 6 weeks because it was like a rolling start, right? There were certain things that we got in place, different iterations that we had to wait on. So we didn't make any significant optimizations for the first month and a half, I would say, until we felt like we had a good read. And even still, there were certain channels that were more laggers or creative iterations that weren't in rotation long enough. We built out like an entire framework to make sure that we were looking at the right channels and the right tests at the right cadence to actually make informed decisions. So it took a little bit of time to get off the ground, but some channels got to move a little faster than others, just because we had the spot in the beginning, right? So we got our linear and our OTT and our CTV rolled out. I would say the social channels and YouTube were a little bit later.
all right. Well, awesome, you guys. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Kay. And as I said, a big round of applause.